Hey, what is up, everybody? I was kind of digging that countdown music. That was kind of fun for a Monday night. Not bad for a unlicensed, non-commercial music bed. So that was kind of fun. Hope you guys are doing well. It's good to see everybody today. I am having a good day today. This is great. Good to see everybody. I see Christy in the chat there. I see Kurt. I've got a couple different people there. We've got several people who haven't said hi yet. So if you get a chance, let us know that you're here in the chat and maybe tell us, like we always do every week, tell us about your weather. Today it was absolutely gorgeous here. It was overcast. It did rain today, but as far as the heat, it was really nice. So I was able to open the big garage door we've got at the office and let some outside air in. So that was really nice. I can't wait. I love the chilly weather. Tyler, I'm sure you're probably not watching tonight, but if you are, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to bring a hoodie or something because Mark likes it cold, and I got to share the office with somebody. So we'll see how that goes, but it's going to be good. Amelia, good to see you. It was nice there in W. Are you in Washington, Wisconsin? I'm not sure where you are there, but that's great. Yeah, Kurt, it looks like I had a math class back here. Yeah, math class going on. I won't tell you that that's a green screen and that's not actually my wall. Sure wish it was because that would be cool, but nope. So yeah, it has been beautiful. Debbie says it's been raining. Debbie's down in Texas. Yeah, it's cleared up here too. So man, it's been really, really nice. I love it. Going to be a great day, great night tonight. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to just take maybe 2 minutes more, let everybody else get here. While we are getting started, I'm just going to tell you a funny story just to make you laugh. As I do more of these, I've been on different videos several thousand times in different ways. So you kind of get used to managing your time. You get used to knowing what 5 minutes feels like while you're talking, that kind of thing. And so I've gotten better at it over the years. But I'll tell you a quick story that I think everybody will laugh at, whether you can identify with it or not. I think you think it's funny. Years ago, I got to host a live TV show a couple of times. Our church here had a monthly TV slot on a local TV channel, and my pastor would host it. And it was cool. He'd have me come on as a guest. It was a lot of fun to be a guest. But then I believe one week something happened. I don't recall what happened, but it was supposed to be on every once a month on a Wednesday. And on Tuesday, he said, "Hey, Mark, can you host the show tomorrow?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh," because hosting is really different than being a guest. And so I did. And I'll try to make this real short, but I didn't realize that I didn't have a good grasp on how long things take when it's live, because this was a live TV show. This wasn't recorded. So if there was 60 minutes of content, you had to go for 60 minutes. If you went for 59, there was a minute of dead air, and you can't go over it 60 or what exactly. So I learned that things take not the same amount of time that you think they do. So it was a Christian broadcasting show, and so naturally it was what I would do is talk about the topic we were doing, and at the end I would close in prayer. And this was pretty hilarious. I did not understand how long a prayer would take, and so I'm doing fine. I'm interviewing this person, and the person behind the camera. This is back when it wasn't really high tech back then. They would hold up cards, right, with things written on it to tell you things. And so I'm talking to the camera, and the lady behind the camera holds up, I think she said 5 minutes on the card. And in my brain, I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to hurry up. And so I said, well, everybody, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate you coming. On behalf of my pastor and his wife, we want to say thank you for being here. And I said, let me pray with you before we go. I prayed, and I said, in Jesus' name, amen. And I look up, and she holds up a card, and it says 4 minutes. I used 60 seconds. So I had 4 minutes. I had no idea how to fill 4 more minutes. So I just covered everything again. I'm not kidding. I prayed a second time, and she holds up the card, and she's like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was kind of a train wreck on live TV. I'm pretty sure that one doesn't exist anywhere, so you can't look for the bloopers. But it was a learning experience. So now I have a better grasp on how long things take, sort of. So Yeah, Debbie says when all else fails, pray. I prayed a lot. It was it was awesome. I got better after that though, so it was good. All right, enough of story time with Mark, at least on that topic. Let's. We're in chapter 7 of this book called Soundtracks: The Surprising Solution to Overthink. Oh my gosh, my green screen's killing it. Look at that. That's amazing. Hold on. Let me see if I can actually fix that. Live. See, another opportunity for live work here. This is great. Yeah. Let me see that. Yeah, something like that. That's fantastic. Look at that. Much better. So we're talking about this book called Soundtracks by John Acuff, and the subtitle is The Surprising Solution to Overthinking. And I know we've got a few new people here today, so thank you for coming. Thank you for picking up in chapter 7. I have been really enjoying this a lot. Yeah, Debbie, you should have a shirt that color. I'm not kidding. Debbie said I should have a shirt that color and you can see through me. I have come into here into my office and sat down with the green shirt on before like an idiot. So it's just a floating head. So that was fantastic. Yeah, always entertaining. Never know what to expect with me. That's for sure. But we're in chapter 7, and I really, really have benefited from this book so far myself, even though this is my second time through it. And yeah, Christy said she's been listening to the Audible version all day to get caught up. It's really cool. I have found like this happens in life a lot. That the thing that I'm going through is what I'm also learning about, and I have really the last few weeks and for actually months, but the last few weeks, I've had a lot of opportunity to put this into practice and to the joke about don't pray for patience because God will give you chances to be patient. Um, my bad soundtracks have really been biting me in the butt over the last few months, and so this has been a difficult but a really good lesson for me, and it's been something I really need, and so I'm thankful for it. Even in a way that sometimes you're not thankful for hard stuff sometimes, but I'm glad because I've needed it. So it's been really good for me. This week, this chapter is called Zig Your Way to Positive Thinking. Zig Your Way to Positive Thinking. And if you've read it already, you know that he's talking about Zig Ziglar. And if you don't know who Zig is, he's one of the modern fathers of positive thinking, that kind of thing. And he was fantastic. And I love the first story that he tells here in the beginning. When he opens the chapter, John talks about this situation where he had a Volkswagen GTI, and it was leaking rain in through some windows that had gotten repaired, but they hadn't gotten repaired correctly. And so at one point, his daughter was sitting in the back seat, and there was a pool of water on the floor, and they had discovered that the repair hadn't been done right. And he said he dried the floor mat with a few paper towels and crossed his fingers. That accomplished nothing because a few days later, when it rained again, the puddle came back. Here's where my broken soundtracks stole the day. I refused to call the auto body shop to have them fix the leak. Why? Because asking people to do their jobs is a hostile confrontation, and confrontation must be avoided at all costs. Man, anybody out there? Let me see. Show of hands. How many of you guys like to avoid conflict? And so sometimes if you like to avoid conflict, you see conflict in places that aren't actually conflict situations. I know what that's like. And he said, where did that come from? A broken soundtrack. You might be familiar with it too. Sometimes it goes by the name, quote, there's something wrong with my meal, but I don't want to bother the waiter, so I'll just choke this food down. It's fine. Once again, the same thing. That's not very helpful, but it's nothing compared to the other soundtrack I uncovered in the situation. The soundtrack that tells me everyone is trying to rip you off. Based on how often I heard that, you'd think a big bank stole our family farm when I was a child. Now, just the thought of calling the auto body shop blasts these two soundtracks. Number one, this is a confrontation. Number two, they're going to take advantage of you. I'm so sorry. Every week I come back here, I'm fighting a sneeze, and I am so sorry for the raggedness of my presentation here. So please forgive me for that. I will I will stifle the sneeze as best I can. Woo, forgive me. But I'm just going to keep reading a little bit more. I love this. He said, in response to the negative music, I put off the call for a day or two or 6 weeks. Fine, I said it. I avoided calling them for 6 weeks, which, funny coincidence, this is going to make you laugh more than it did my wife Jenny, is exactly the amount of time it takes for standing water to grow mold. I wasn't lazy those 6 weeks when I avoided the call. I was busy wrestling with overthinking and trying to postpone the inevitable. I put a beach towel on the floorboard and soaked up the water. I bought, I bought a box of moisture eating gel to ride shotgun with my now 7-pound sopping wet beach towel. I propped up my trunk each night and wedged the world's heaviest dehumidifier into the car like that was a normal thing that completely sane people did. Counselors often say that one of the first signs of denial is when you lift a 60-pound dehumidifier into your car because you don't want to call an auto body shop. I might have gone that way for the rest of my life, but it started to smell. What's that odor? Jenny would ask. I don't smell anything. I'd lie through my overthinking teeth. It smells like a swamp in here, she'd say. Not sure what you're talking about, I'd reply, taking deep breaths through my mouth. It was a classic story between mold and overthinking, but eventually, I don't know how to say this word, but Stachybotrys won. That's black mold's scientific name. Once you spent 6 weeks riding around with someone, you tend to know them pretty well. And here's the part I highlighted. I finally bit the bullet and called the auto body shop, expecting the worst. Know what happened instead? It was one of the easiest conversations I'd ever had in my life. The owner was horrified and could not have been more apologetic. He fixed the car immediately and didn't make me pay another cent. Man, when I read that, I told my wife, I just put the book down and said, man, I hate this chapter because I haven't done that exactly, obviously, but I have put stuff off forever to try to avoid something only to discover when I finally took care of it, it was nothing. And, my version of living with black mold for 6 weeks, I've done that. Has anyone else done that? Let me know in the chat. Have you done your version of that before? Put off something that turned out not to be true? Hey, what's up, Tabitha Richardson? Good to see you. So that's the story he opened with. And let me put up the first slide here of something. Yeah, Christy says, oh, yeah, you've definitely done it. I have too. Here's the first quote here from page 134. Overthinking doesn't play fair, so we won't either. And that's that's where he starts this chapter, kind of after that opening story. And so that's what this chapter is about, is not playing fair because overthinking doesn't either. Then he starts talking about Seth Godin, who is a New York Times bestselling author of 18 different books. I love Seth Godin. If you haven't checked him out, look him up. It's Seth, Godin. I love his books. They're short, easy to read. He doesn't mess around, get straight to the point. I love his books. He's a marketing genius. And he says that at one point he was listening to the Moment podcast, and he heard Seth tell a story about how his first publishing project was rejected 800 times. For a solid year, every single door was slammed in his face. That's the kind of failure that would knock most people right out of an industry. But then the host asked him how he talked himself through that challenge. And Seth said, it wasn't self-talk, it was Zig talk. Zig Ziglar talked to me every day for 3 hours. For 3 hours a day, for 3 years, I listened to this guy. I knew it by heart because there were only 72 hours of this stuff. The voice, this is so good. The voice in my head took over because I didn't have the voice I needed in my head. That voice in my head took over because I didn't need the voice. I didn't have the voice I needed in my head. This is so, so good because he recognized what I'm hearing in here is not what's supposed to be there. So I had to hear another voice. And John says a lot of what many of us say is we think that positive affirmations can be kind of goofy at times. Um, and he later says, "Why don't I just add Serenity Now from Seinfeld?" Because it does feel kind of goofy. But he started noticing. Yes, Debbie says, "Borrow from the best." Absolutely. Um, he started noticing that as he started talking to more and more successful people, he asked them, "Do you do anything like this?" And they described it differently, but nearly all of them said that they did some kind of positive affirmation, even if they called it something different. And this next quote I love is, when one of your heroes mentions one of his heroes, your ears perk up. He's saying if somebody you admire talks about someone they admire, your ears should perk up. You should listen. And I think that's a really good thing. Anybody you're studying, anybody you're reading, anybody you're modeling after in some way, if they are modeling someone, then you should pay attention to that. I think that was really good. What were your thoughts about this so far when you were getting to this part of the chapter? Tell me what you were thinking when you read that. Then he talks about who Zig was. Yeah, Terry, speak life over what I'm trying to do. Heck yes. That is so good. Yeah, speak life over what I'm trying to do. Excellent. And Debbie says, borrow from the best. For sure. He talks about how when he dug a little deeper into Zig's affirmations, he was able to easily find them online. And the plan wasn't complicated. For 30 days in a row, the first thing that you're supposed to do is read them out loud while looking at yourself in the mirror. He said, "Oh, good grief. The idea of standing in front of a mirror twice a day while telling myself things like, I am honest, sincere, and a hardworking person. I'm tough, but fair and sensitive. Felt crazy. Why don't I just add Serenity Now from Seinfeld while I'm at it? The walls of my pessimism were crumbling, though, as techniques I'd mocked for years kept coming up. Maybe there was something to repeating positive soundtracks. Perhaps there was more here than soccer moms with driftwood signs that read live, laugh, love. Oh, look at this. I started to casually ask successful people I knew if they believed in positive thinking. The words they used were a little different, but they were all quietly practicing self-talk. I have a few sentences I tell myself every morning, or I have a mantra I repeat to myself all day, or I give myself a pep talk every afternoon. The evidence was mounting. Was repeating my new soundtracks the key to making them stick? I wasn't sure, but since I was fresh off getting my butt kicked by overthinking the mold battle, I was willing to try anything. I decided to try positive affirmations for 30 days. What's the worst that could happen? And then he talks about the section called Me and Zig and the Mirror. And he said, just his wife said, I don't want you doing that in the bathroom we share, talking about doing the affirmations every morning. And he said, the longer I went through the list of affirmations those first few days, the more I realized most of these statements weren't currently true about myself. And this is the next quote I wanted to put up there. That's what initially happens when you start repeating a new soundtrack. You feel like a liar. It's weird to say things about yourself that aren't true yet. What's funny, though, is that if you're an overthinker, you've already done that exact same thing for years. You just haven't noticed because you weren't saying them out loud. For example, everyone is trying to take advantage of me is every bit as big a lie as I take pride in my appearance. But one has played 1,000 times without me ever calling it out because it's hidden under the cloak of an internal thought. Yeah, that's so good. Right, Christy? I love the yet. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he said, so reading the affirmations encouraged me to deal with an important question. Why is it so easy to repeat negative soundtracks internally and so hard to repeat positive soundtracks externally? Let's stop right there for a second. I want to hear from you guys. I know I found that that's true. I can just repeat negative things over and over in my head, but then saying positive things out loud seems to be a lot harder. And that seems to be true. Do you guys experience that as well? I know I do. Maybe the answer goes all the way back to chapter one. Maybe it's because the brain can be kind of a jerk. Maybe it was cognitive bias. I've been collecting evidence of my negative soundtracks for years, so it was easy to believe and those and hard to believe the new ones. Yeah, Christy says sometimes constant loops of negatives. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I love this next slide here, next quote. Um, well, I'll lead into this one. Hold on just a second on that one. Sorry. This next quote here is, did I want these new soundtracks to be true of me, or did I want to listen to the same broken soundtracks I've always heard? Oh, did I want these new things to be true, or did I want to listen to the same broken soundtracks I've always heard? Sometimes it is so powerful to ask those direct questions. Do I like where I've been, or do I want to be somewhere new? I remember hearing oh, this story cracks me up every time. I remember Andy Stanley talking about um he said he hasn't done counseling for years. He's a pastor. He hasn't done counseling for years, and he said because I'm honestly not good at it. And he talked about, he said the last time that he did any counseling, he had a lady in his office who was talking about some things she was going through, and he said he was listening for a little bit, and then he says, "Okay, if I could interrupt for just a second." And this was a long time ago. You'll see why. He said, "Do you have a calendar with you?" Which we've all got a calendar on our phones now, but do you have a calendar with you? She said, "Yeah." He goes, "Great. Would you pull it out for me?" Okay. She pulls it out and he says, "I want you to pick a day that you're going to change because it's clearly not today." Oh, I want you to pick a day that you're going to change because it's clearly not today. Man, that's like one of those fork in the road questions where it says, "Hey, did I want these new things to be true of me, or did I want to listen to the same broken soundtracks I've always heard? How much longer am I going to keep doing this?" Man, just like it's amazing. So powerful, but so strong. Um, and then he goes on to talk about some other struggles. And mm, this chapter was so good for me. Yeah, right. Debbie says, "Ouch." That's exactly right. It very much ouch. Mm. And let me read this part too. You guys just keep telling me what you're thinking in the chat there. I will definitely respond to you. Just let me know what your thoughts are there. I don't need to monologue the whole time, but I know I'm the only one on the screen right now. So uh, he starts talking. I love this. He said he was talking about a book called The Invisible Gorilla, and he said they detail how radiologists often miss obvious things like a guide wire left in a vein when they review X-rays because of the illusion of attention. People assume that radiologists will notice anything anomalous in an image, when in reality, just like the rest of us, they tend to best see what they are looking for in an image. If you tell a radiologist to look for a pulmonary embolism, it's easy for them to completely miss the guide wire, which shouldn't be there. You can fix the problem, though. If you tell radiologists to find the guide wire in a chest x-ray, they will expect to see one, and they'll immediately notice. That's what my Zig experiment felt like. I was telling myself to look for positive things, and suddenly they were a whole lot easier to find. I was telling myself to look for positive things, and all of a sudden they were so much easier to find. Oh, I I know that, but I don't know that. I know that I find what I'm looking for, but I need that reminder. I know that if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. I also know that when you go looking for positive things, you'll find it. That's so good. Man. Let's go to this next quote here. There's two phrases. I react to problems versus I respond to problems is a subtle shift, but it's an important one. And he talks about that. He said when he was talking to Zig Ziglar's son, his son Tom said, Dad used to always say, it's not what happens to you that determines how far you will go in life. It's how you handle what happens to you. He was big on the difference between reacting, which is negative, and responding, which is positive. If you go to the doctor and you get prescribed medicine, a few days later, he'll call you. If you say, I'm broken out in hives and my tongue swelled up, you've got a reaction to the medicine. That's negative. If you say, my fever is gone, my energy is back up, I feel better, that means you responded to the medicine. That's positive. So that's a really good example there. And he says that felt like an example of flipping a soundtrack. But how do you live that out in the middle of a busy week? You plan in advance how you're going to respond. Take travel, for instance. You know, if you get on a plane more than twice a year, you're guaranteed to be delayed or canceled. When that happens, you should have your plan already worked out and your attitude should be decided. When that happens, you should have your plan already worked out and your attitude should be decided. Man, already worked out. Your negative attitude isn't changing when the plane is leaving. And in a lot of cases, you should be grateful they're not flying you into dangerous conditions. That's actually for your benefit. And boy, that is so powerful. When you plan out your attitude before something happens, I'm going to have a positive attitude. I'm going to not get down in the dumps about stuff. I'm not going to sneeze. I'm going to plan that ahead of time. Oh my gosh, I'm such a train wreck tonight. This is great. Fantastic. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. But the idea of planning our attitudes and our thoughts ahead of time is incredibly powerful. Because then I remember a couple of chapters ago, he was talking about a public speaker. I'm sorry, I forgot the person's name, but he said that before the guy goes on stage, he has a plan for every eventuality so that when something happens, he already is prepared for it. If the microphone stopped working, if the lights go out, if whatever, he's already planned for it. So it's not a surprise for him. So he handles it more without any fear. And I love this, having a plan worked out so your attitude is already decided. I'm not going to get negative. I'm going to stay positive. Yeah, Debbie says the same as traffic was horrible versus this traffic might be keeping me out of an accident. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things Zig also says that he did is whenever he would get delayed at an airport, he said it would just give him time to do the things that he really loved to do. So he would bust out his favorite, like he'd write or he'd read, and he would use that time to do something he loved. And that's the way that he saw it. And I think that's so powerful. My days were much better when I chose my thoughts before I even left the house. Man. Let's take this next one too. You guys just let me ramble and ramble. Hopefully this is meaning something to you. I hope it's meaning like it does for me. Page 143, he says, if your life is difficult right now, because of things that have happened to you, it's not negative to acknowledge that. It's only negative if you stay there. What you want to focus on is the solution. That was when he was talking about looking at the bright side of everything. And he was saying that it's okay to acknowledge that things are bad, that things are tough. He's just saying you don't want to live there. You want to focus on a solution instead of just living in the negative. And I got to be honest, a lot of people in the groups that we're all in are so negative by nature, and that wears me out. I don't like working with negative people. I'd rather work with positive people. I don't mind at all that they have problems that they're trying to work through. But man, when somebody comes out of the gate with, this is never going to work, this program is crap, this blah 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 is horrible, I, man, it just wears me out to work with negative people. I'd rather work with positive people. And I think you feel the same way. So if you'd rather work with a positive person, it's time to be that positive person as well. Debbie said, you see, that happened to me. I was presenting to about 150 people and the projector went out. I just kept going like nothing happened. Surprised a lot of people in the room. That is so good. That is so good. That has happened to me as well. And I've had the lights go out, all the stage lights go out. Um, we had a light controller, a computer that controlled all the lights on the stage, and it was plugged in. It's hilarious how when you look back at stuff like this, you realize what a bad idea it was. But the computer was plugged in right by someone's feet in the production booth, and they just kicked the cord, and the computer got knocked out of the wall, and all the lights go bloop. And I was on the stage speaking at the time, and all the lights went out. And there was a moment, it was a couple of moments where it was kind of just stopped for a second, but we just kept on going and figured it out. I've had microphones die while I'm using them. I just had to get another one and keep going, all kinds of things. So these are all great lessons of how to keep going. I see that it's 8:31. I've got to go real quick just to get to the end of this, guys, because I promised you that I would always keep this to 30 minutes. So we'll go to this next quote here. Oh, this is a great place to kind of wrap this chapter up. He said, "What would it look like to put my best brain power to the fix and not the fear? What would it look like to put my best brain power to the fix and not the fear? Am I focused on the problem or on the solution?" It's simple, but it works. It's simple, but it works. And the last quote we'll use from Tom Zigg's son is, John asked Tom, "Is it like fake it till you make it? You just over focus on the solution?" And Tom said, "No, we don't teach fake it till you make it. My dad believed in tell the truth in advance. Those words are an aspiration of where you're going." Oh, man, I absolutely love that. An aspiration of where you're going. And so I want to kind of wrap up with that last question there is, what would it look like to put my best brain power to the fix and not the fear? So let's work on that together this week if we could. I've got some things in front of me right now that I need to put this into action myself. And so I'm not just reading this book with you, I'm living it. And there are several things that right now I've got soundtracks in front of me that need to be changed, that need to be fixed. And so this is a good week for me to put my best brain power on the fix and not the fear. So guys, I hope this book has been meaningful to you. It's been great for me, I know for sure. This next chapter, we got 3 more, 8, 9, and 10. Put the new anthem on repeat. He talks about in the next chapter about owning 48 haircuts. So if you haven't read that already, jump into chapter 8 and we'll do that together. I'm going to let you go because I'm 3 minutes over and I want to keep track of that time. So I love you guys. Have a great week working on your good new soundtracks. And I'm going to start doing what Zig suggested. And I'm going to put some mantras up on my mirror and speak those every morning and hope that my wife will still share the bathroom with me and won't kick me out like John's wife did. But I love you guys. Have a great night, and I will see you in the groups, and I'll see you next week. Talk to you later.